All right, should be good.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Spoken Truth. I go to by the name of Danny,
I'm Chaz.
I'm Tunde.
and today we're going to be talking about NBA All-Stars, who should be starting, who potentially could be snubbed, and what the benches should look like. And we also will be going down the Eastern Conference, who are title contenders, who are pretenders. Let's get it started. Let's start with the All-Stars. Let's start with the Western Conference. Chaz, who is in that backcourt for the Western Conference? Who should be in the backcourt for the Western Conference?
Yeah, so this is one that I actually kind of went back and forth with. I think the obvious choice is Luka Doncic. I would be pretty surprised if you guys left him off yours, but he's definitely in one of mine. And then the other spot is where I had some trouble with. It was kind of up to Steph Curry, Ja Morant, and then somebody like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think has been one of the maybe 10 to 15 best players in the whole league. And, isn't somebody that would normally be in consideration for that spot, but because he's played so well, I feel like you almost have to have him at least in the conversation. So I settled on Steph Curry just because I feel like that's the most realistic. He's a guy that's been there forever. He's probably going to have the votes to do so. But I really think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at least deserves a shout out. But I did end up going with Steph Curry and Luka Doncic. What about you guys?
I'll let you go first, Danny, because I'm gonna talk.
Okay. I definitely have Steph in the backcourt. I think what is known don't need to be explained. I think he's earned the nod until he's no longer in his physical prime to be an all-star starter.
Even with the injury?
Even with the injury. We've seen in recent all-star selections and games that there's been players that particularly haven't played like a lot of games. In instances like Kevin Durant last year, he didn't really play the games that he needed to play in order to be selected, but he was still made an all-star starter. And obviously he didn't play, he was captain. And then this year he potentially could be captain again, but this go around he met the threshold as far as games played. So I still think that vote, the leader should go to someone that's actually playing the game, who should pick that team. But that's for a different conversation that we could have later on. But I did go with Luka. I do believe he's having an MVP caliber season. Right now, I got him ranked as the third best player in the league. He's been putting up, what can I say? He's unstoppable offensively. Yeah. And we know what the All-Star game is about, threes and layups and trick shots, dunks. It's no defense being played, and I think he fits that game perfectly. So I will get a nod to Luka and Steph in the backcourt.
All right, fair enough. So from my perspective, I'm gonna go with
Let's mix it up.
I went back and forth on this one. Because from my perspective, I do have a tough time with players who have suffered significant injuries when it comes to awards like this. You need to be on the court and playing to, be given these awards. It's kind of always how I feel. Ultimately, though, I landed in the same spot as you guys with Luka and Steph. Luka was, a given. Yeah, Luka was a given. I don't even really think I need to explain that. I just think like Steph's been phenomenal this year. He's shooting the hell out of the ball. He's like right now he's averaging 40, 50, 90 on 30 points a game, with 7 rebounds and 7 assists. It's absurd for a 6'3" guy to be doing any of that. And if you look at his plus minus, it's crazy how much worse they are with him off the court. So yeah, Steph's my second guy in the backcourt in the West.
What was your hesitant about Steph because of him missing time? Was that where you initially was going at first?
It was him missing time, and then it's also like Devin Booker and SGA. Been great.
What about Ja?
Ja has also been great. There's like it's tough, especially in the West. There's a lot of great guards. You didn't mention Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's been, phenomenal. Although Damian Lillard has kind of the same issue as Steph with the playing time due to injury. But I think from my perspective, it's Steph has been so good that it doesn't matter that he's missed time.
Mm-hmm. Chaz, what about the front court? Now, before you answer that, I've always had this pet peeve, like it's something that I really hate about the NBA, is that I think, and this is not just in relates to the All-Star game, but also is in relates to when they're picking their first team all NBA teams. I think it should be positionless. I don't think we need, a center, two front court, and then we need 2 point guards. I think the best 5 players, no matter the position, should be on first team. I don't care if that's 3 guards. I don't care if it's 4 guards. I don't care if it's 5 centers. I don't care. I think the best 5 players should be all NBA. What is your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I'll keep it brief, but I would agree with you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree too. I think it probably matters a little bit more for all NBA than it does for the All-Star game, just because I think all NBA really kind of cements people's legacy. And them kind of forcing that center in there has kind of altered history the last few years. For the All-Star game, not as much, I would say. And I do like that they have the 3 front court and 2 guards, so you don't necessarily have to have a center as long as you have 3 front court. So I mean, I think it's a little bit better. But I definitely agree with you guys. I feel like the way that the league has been going, the sport in general has been going for the last 10 plus years. Why not make a positionless at this point?
Yeah. Your front court players?
Yeah, so my front court, I really had. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were in the conversation, even guys like Lauri Markkanen, who, I mean, I don't know if anybody could have seen that coming. But I really had 4 guys that I had to get 3 spots from. Those guys were LeBron, Zion, Nikola Jokic, and Anthony Davis. I ended up leaving Anthony Davis out, partially because of the injury, but he was playing at such a high level that I really felt like he probably would have been in there if he never gotten hurt. But I am going to go with LeBron on one wing, Zion on the other, even though he hasn't played, as much as I think some people would like him to be a starter. I think he deserves it. And then, the big man in the middle, the 2-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. I feel like he's the obvious pick in the middle.
Yeah. So I mean, I came down to the same 4 that you did, Chaz, for the front court. And I was right there with you in that I really wanted to put Anthony Davis down as an all-star starter. Yeah. Ultimately, it's just going to come down to the injury. So I landed exactly where you landed, Chaz, with Zion, LeBron, and Nikola Jokic. I will say, had Anthony Davis played enough games, LeBron probably would have been the guy that I would have left off. I'll throw that out there. But very impressed with what we've gotten out of all 4 of those guys this season.
Yeah.
I had almost similar to you guys, the 4. LeBron, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, but I also had a 5th option in there. You guys know who that was? You guys know who that was. You guys know who that was. Yes, you do.
I don't know if I do.
All-Star game starter Andrew Wiggins.
I was about to say
All-Star game starter Andrew
He's not
Wiggins.
in the conversation.
Get the fuck
All-Star game starter Andrew Wiggins.
Thank God we don't have to talk about him this year.
Yeah, that shit never. Anyway, that shit was ridiculous.
Whatever, he deserved it. He deserved it. He deserved to be there, and maybe it shouldn't have been a starter. He deserved to be on that team.
Maybe.
I agree with that. I agree.
Whatever. You know he deserved to be on there. But I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going to go with Jokic. Look, Tunday's so... he deserved to be there, Tunde, man. Come on. Anyways, I'm going to go with LeBron. I'm going to go with Jokic. And I'm also going to go with Zion. has Zion played enough games?
Yeah.
Just enough,
Just enough? Okay.
in my opinion.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I think he deserves it. He's had a great year when he's been on the court. The Pelicans, I mean, I know Tunde said it, beginning of the season. I mean, that this team it has potential to make some noise. I don't know how far they can go. But I definitely know they can make some noise in the Western Conference. It all depends on Zion's health. If he's right, if he's healthy, this team can potentially go all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to say that they can win it, but they can get to that point. I think CJ, he adds some veteran leadership that they needed. BI, who is, to me, is unquestionably the best player. And that could be debatable, but I think I get the nod to BI.
Over Zion?
Over Zion, I would. It's very close to me, but I personally would take BI because I know BI is reliable. More than Zion is.
All-Star
More
game,
than Zion is. No, I'm saying in general. I kind of went off on a tangent a little bit. But I'm slowly trying to bring myself back. But I would take BI over Zion when it comes to availability. Now, obviously, he's not the talent that Zion is. But I think that team could potentially make some noise if they're healthy. So I agree with, I think we all have unanimously the same 5 for the starters. Now let's move into the reserves. Chaz, who are you giving the 2 front court players to in the Western Conference?
So there'd be how many bench players would there be then? 7?
Does it matter the position?
I don't think the position matters, right?
Okay. Who are your 7?
I can't remember how they do it.
It's 2 backcourt and then 3 reserves and then 2 wildcard spots.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter position for the wildcard.
Two backcourt reserves, 3 frontcourt reserves, 2 wildcard spots. That can be whatever you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you guys a couple of guards then, if that's cool, and then we can just maybe do that, and then we'll move into the front court bench players.
Cool.
Does that sound good? So I already mentioned SGA, who I thought would be in the conversation to be a starter, averaging 30.8, 5 and 5, which is pretty phenomenal on 50% shooting. Like I said, I feel like he's been one of the maybe 5 best point guards in the whole league to start this season. Even though the team is a few games below 500, I think he deserves to be on the team. Not a starter, not yet over somebody like Steph, but I think he should be on the team, and I'm assuming he will be. I would also give Ja Morant in there, and then depending on who's injured, who wants to play, I assume Damian Lillard and Devin Booker will get the offer. I don't know if they end up playing in the game, but I think those guys will be in the mix as well. And then one more that I'll just throw out there before you guys go is De'Aaron Fox, who I feel like has been pretty phenomenal this season. Last year I picked him to be an all-star. He wasn't great. This year I feel like he's on track to be. I don't know if he will end up being because the backcourt in the West is so loaded. But I think De'Aaron Fox, who's averaging 24, 6 and 5, and has been one of the best fourth quarter scorers, I think he deserves to be in it as well.
What about those front court players? Did you name the front court players already?
No, you guys want to go for guards and then we'll circle back for front court?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I'll go with my guards. I mean, I think I've already kind of told you guys who they are. But I went with Devin Booker and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What we've seen from Devin Booker this year has been phenomenal. He kept the Phoenix Suns afloat through the behind the scenes soap opera, through Chris Paul being, out and having multi-game stretches being out. Ayton's been out for, period of time. Cam Johnson being hurt. Jay Crowder is holding out for some reason. Because I guess Jay Crowder is somebody who's good enough to hold out, and that means something. And it really doesn't. That shit. You guys have heard me say this in the last episode. That shit is crazy to me.
I said Jay who?
Anyway, I'm not gonna go on another Jay Crowder tangent. I have never particularly cared for that guy, mostly because he be out there trying to hurt people. I don't respect that. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, Devin Booker has kept the Phoenix Suns afloat. at times with it seeming like he's out there is really the only guy who has the ability to create off the dribble or put pressure on the rim in any real, in any real sense. I know, we all might have seen the game the other night against the Warriors, but like Damian Lee not doing all that. Yeah. And what he's done in the efficiency he's been able to maintain while being the only true advantage creator on that team is really special. Past that, I go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I really enjoyed watching the Thunder play basketball this year. Just as an aside, but I think from my perspective, there's not really a ton of separation between SGA, John Morant, and somebody like Damian Lillard. I think where I go with Shai is that he's played the most games out of the three of them. It's 29 games played for Shai versus 25 for Ja versus 20 for Dame. That's honestly a lot of the separation. And then also, like, in watching a lot of the Thunder games, one of the things that you'll see and you'll notice is that Shai has been an absolute god at the end of games. And for my money, the performances in the quote unquote clutch are kind of part of the separating factor here.
Gotcha. I tend to agree with all the players you guys said. The only problem that I really have with is I just don't think that 20 games is enough to be considered an all-star. Especially if you're going into the all-star break, 42, 43 games in, 44, something like that, probably even more. I don't think playing half of those games should qualify you as being an all-star, especially because I don't think Dame is playing right now still. And who knows when he's going to get on the court again. I don't personally think he deserves that nod just by only playing 20 games. So I would not include Dame as an all-star.
I don't think either one of us put Dame in, though, right? That's what we were both saying.
Well, you said reserves. Well, you said still on the all-star team.
Well, no, what I was saying is that it's two backcourt spots. The people that I was personally picking between that kind of named, because we're just talking about.
So you wasn't actually put him on the all-star team?
No. What I'm saying is I'm just talking about players who have played well enough to make a case for the all-star.
Okay. Do you think he deserves to be on the all-star team?
I mean, I'll reserve my answer on that for the wild card segment.
Okay. That's fine. Chaz, your front court players.
Wait, did you want to mention any more guards or are you good?
Shai, I agree with. I agree with Ja. I agree with Book. The only one I tend to disagree with would be Dame.
Okay.
So, and that's strictly because I don't think he's played enough games. Right. Up until that point where the All-Star game will happen when they go on break. If he's still not playing, I don't think he deserves to be an all-star, only playing 20 games.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I will say he was playing at an all-star level before he got hurt. So
absolutely,
if he is able to get back and, maybe have 2 weeks or something before, who knows? But I'd probably agree with you that he'd be just on the outside. As for the front court, though, you guys ready to move on to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. I assume we're all going to have Anthony Davis in one of those spots since we had him, so close to being a starter. And then the next person, kind of shockingly, that I have to mention is Lauri Markkanen. I mean, to me, he's been the next best forward in the Western Conference this year, averaging like almost 25 points per game. Been one of the best forwards in the conference. I mean, he's had 40 plus multiple times. He's really carried Utah's offense at times this season. And he's been really explosive. He's been really consistent, which is something that we've never really seen from him. And this is not something that I would have had even in the conversation at the beginning of the year. And now I feel like he has to be an all-star. Do you guys agree with Lauri Markkanen being on the team?
I do. I'm going to defend Lauri Markkanen's honor real quick. So Lauri Markkanen was my second favorite player in the 2017 draft as a prospect. Lonzo Ball being number one. Does not mean I've had him as the second best player in that class. Just my second favorite player to watch instead. Always been a really big fan of his game. And then people kind of got it mixed up with what he could or couldn't do because Jim Boylan was his head coach for, an extended period of time in Chicago. But that had never had anything to do with his skill set or his ability to put the ball on the floor or how good an athlete he is, which he's never gotten credit for. And now what you're seeing this year, it's a kind of a culmination of all the things that he does, where he's kind of in that Klay Thompson mold of being a guy who can, dribble the ball, 11 times in the game, and you look up and he's got 45 points. It's really impressive how efficient he's able to be with the touches that he has, and in a way that always works within the flow of an offense. It's really, really impressive stuff. And it's been great to watch them fully lean into how good he is without the ball in his hands. Larry's getting a front court spot in my Western Conference All-Star and my Western Conference front court reserves. Number 2 there in my front court reserves, this isn't really in order, but Anthony Davis also gets a spot for me. I mean, I think you all heard what I had to say about Anthony Davis before. He's playing absolutely phenomenal basketball. From my perspective, the injury just means he ends up being a reserve instead of a front court, instead of like a starter. But we got to reward what he was doing. He was, playing phenomenal shit, or playing at a phenomenal level.
Yeah. Then I feel like it starts to get a little more difficult, right?
Yeah, it definitely starts to get a little more difficult.
I have a hard time with this because you take what Anthony Davis was doing at the beginning of the season and you're like, no doubt, he deserves to be an all-star. I believe what he was averaging, 12 rebounds. He was 27 and a half, almost 59% from the field. So obviously you would think, okay, he's definitely an all-star. I'm going to propose the same question. Has he played enough games? Like, when it comes to that point, will he have enough games under his belt in order to be considered an all-star? I think playing 20, 23, 24 games, I don't think that's enough to be an all-star when your all-star game is halfway through the season and marks, quote unquote, your midpoint, and you're 43, 44 games into the season. Like, I don't see how you make the case other than what we've seen before at the beginning of the season. I don't see how you make the case that he can realistically be on that team only playing 23 games. Now, the numbers are the numbers. We saw what he did at the beginning of the season. Numbers are the numbers. But if he's still out and all of a sudden we get close to All-Star game and now he's back, I mean, do we reward that? Like, I'm not sure we do. I think there's players that, I'm not saying there's players that's playing better, right now, especially for the front court, but people that's been ready and available, he hasn't been available. So I'm kind of torn between that. I'm not sure. On one hand, I'm saying, of course, he's an all-star because of the numbers. On the other hand, I'm like, he hasn't played enough games.
I mean, I think from my perspective, it's really just a thing where you have to kind of compare them head to head to all of the players who are who have deserving cases for the award or whatever spot it is you're trying to give them or what have you. So a good example of this would be Joel Embiid's rookie year. He played 31 games, was one of the best centers in the league in a 31 or 41 game span. And Malcolm Brogdon was a solid rookie, a quality rookie, but there was just not a comparison between, and there was not really a comparison between the two of them as far as who was
the better player.
Yeah, it was who was the better player that year. It was just about like, do you feel cool giving Joel Embiid this award knowing that he missed like 50 or 60% of the season?
It's kind of like the Ja and the Zion when Ja won, I believe it was it Rookie of the Year? When he won Rookie of the Year over Zion, everyone knows Zion's a better player, but Zion didn't play.
Yeah, he played like 18 games.
Yeah, he didn't play. But if you want to know, if you're going based off talent, Zion, he should be rookie of the year, no matter if he played 18, 15, whatever the case may be. But you have to have there has to be some type of criteria that players have to meet in order to be an all-star.
Sure.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
I will go ahead, Tunde.
I was gonna say for what it's worth, yeah, Anthony Davis meets the threshold for me. I also think it depends on just like how well you play, and I think it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue he wasn't playing at an extremely high level. Like
it's hard to argue the numbers.
Top 5 level. You can't really argue with that.
Yeah.
I will say there are 3 front court spots, and I think I only gave 2 guys.
Go ahead.
Anthony Davis and Lauri Markkanen. So to be brief and to not take up this whole time, last spot is between the last spot here were between for me anyway, it's between Paul George and Domantas Sabonis. I'm going to give the slightest edge to Paul George. Just really real hard call for me, but that's where I'm going to go, just because of the injuries with Kawhi Leonard mean that Paul George has had to do everything, be the primary defensive stopper, be the primary offensive guy, be a facilitator, be a glue guy, be in between the gaps, and he's doing all of that and doing it at a really high level. And again, similar to Devin Booker, he is kind of what's keeping the Clippers afloat. But Sabonis has been awesome this year. The Kings have been impossible to stop offensively. He honestly might be the biggest reason why they are that way. Not just with his ability to score the ball or what he does in the post, but his passing and his ability to serve as a hub, as a passing hub, as an outlet, 2-man game with Kevin Huerter and De'Aaron Fox. He's doing all of that at a really high level. So he gets a shout out, but he's not going to get one of my initial front court spots. Chaz, I believe you had something to say there, so I want to be sure we let you talk here.
Yeah, I was going to say about Anthony Davis that I agree with you guys that there needs to be somewhat of a criteria. But I do feel like it's a little bit different than, in individual award where, there's only one guy that can win it. Because with the All-Star, you can put Anthony Davis in it. And then even if he's not able to play, you can just sub him out, pick a different reserve. Both players will get the All-Star nod. I feel like that's something that we see, 2, 3, 4 players every single season. I'm assuming that's going to happen this year as well. Could be AD, could be Dame, Devin Booker. There's a lot of guys. KD is obviously going to be one. There's a lot of guys that will deserve a spot and just won't be able to play for whatever reason. So I feel like AD will get that nod. But who knows if he's actually going to take the court that night.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with Sabonis.
Nice.
And I'm actually going to put AD in there despite everything that I've said, because I think he deserves it. I'm just questioning when I would like to know what's the criteria for being an all-star.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that you don't deserve to be an all-star if you've played half of the games thus far. And there's an 82 game season, and you've put in it up until that point, you're into 44 games, something like that. And you've
I think we'll be past 50 by that point.
Past 50 by them. If you've played you've missed 30 odd games. Yeah. I don't think you deserve to be an all-star.
I agree with you.
I don't, but you can't argue with the numbers. But I don't think missing 30 games out of 50 that you should be an all-star. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You guys ready to move on to the opposite side of the court?
Yeah, so do we still need the 2 wild cards? How many is that?
Oh, right.
We do.
I forgot there's, yeah. Keep forgetting those guys.
So we're kind of doing this on the fly, but I think we pretty much have the same 10, right? We have Steph Curry,
Yes.
Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Zion Williamson, Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the reserves right now, I think we agreed on Ja, SGA,
Yep.
Paul George, Domantas Sabonis, and Anthony Davis.
I didn't agree with Paul
You
George.
did not agree on Ja. I had Devin Booker there.
I did not
Okay,
agree
so
on
Devin
Paul
Booker.
George.
And then, so Danny, what other front court player would you have in the mix instead of Paul George? Because that's kind of someone who I feel like is on the bubble, but there's really nobody else that I feel comfortable putting in. I mean, guy like coming into the year, it was like, Kawhi Leonard, Rudy Gobert, Brandon Ingram, Karl Anthony Towns. Like those are all guys that you feel like would be in that mix, even if you want to put your guy Andrew Wiggins in that conversation. But none of those guys would be in the mix now. So it's almost hard not to go with somebody like Paul George.
Are we sure Andrew Wiggins won't be in the mix by the time the All-Star game come around?
Yes.
He's not in my mix. Not in my
I
mix.
mean, he's the second best player on a championship team. Well, a champion team that won last year. They're not looking like a championship team right now.
He's averaging 18 points a game. How many games?
18.4. Yeah.
How many games has he played? Only 24. So I mean, even
but there goes the games played again.
Yeah, that's an issue with a lot of people.
Yeah, so if he's continuing to play, and we still have a little time before All-Star, a couple weeks. I mean, he can. I don't know if he's obviously on the list now, but I don't know if you're asking me between him and Paul George. I'm going to go with Andrew Wiggins right now, just because I think that he's going to have the ability to put up some points in the coming weeks. This Warriors schedule is getting a little lighter. Not too light, but it's getting a little lighter. So he's going to be able to put up some points against some of these teams that aren't very good. But I think he has a chance. I think I'm not going to just summarily dismiss Paul George because you guys know how I feel about PG-13. But I'm going to go with Andrew Wiggins for sure. Yeah.
So Tunde, you opted to go with Devin Booker instead of Ja Morant. Would you have Ja as one of your wild card then, or do you think he shouldn't be on the team at all?
Well, I'll say right now that one of my wild cards is gonna be Domantas Sabonis. I think I already kind of talked about that. I do have Ja as my other wild card.
Ja, okay.
Yeah, I do have Ja as my other wild card. I think it's tough. This is kind of there's always willing there's always kind of it's always kind of tough because there's only going to be 12, right? And there's always more than 12 players who have a real case for it. So somebody's going to be unhappy.
Not really.
Anyway, I mean,
I'm just saying it really isn't 12 people to make a case really, but it's okay.
If there wasn't 12 people to make a case, you wouldn't be able to fill out the team. So,
bare minimum. It's bare minimum of 12. There's not 15, 16 cases you could be made.
Oh, yes, there is. You could easily make a case for De'Aaron Fox to be in the All-Star game. You're trying to make a case for Andrew Wiggins to be in the All-Star game, and you are the only person who thinks that. So
yeah, I think Christian Wood deserves to be more than Andrew Wiggins.
All-Star game, Andrew Wiggins.
Anyway,
forever.
It's
always have that.
It's all good. All-Star game starter Andrew Wiggins for Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Wiggins is going to retire as a one-time All-Star too.
Probably.
In the NBA champion.
The way that story will be in history books. You could really
NBA champion. Don't forget that NBA champion.
You could really put that like that could be that'll be like its own standalone like that cult documentary in 20 years. How BTS led to Andrew Wiggins becoming an All-Star
and NBA champion.
Sure, he was phenomenal in the
and NBA champion.
I'm not taking any of that away from him. We're not derailing the conversation today. Those will be my last two. Those will be my wild card guys. It'll be Ja and Domantas Sabonis. Ja's been awesome. For me again, it's we were splitting hairs in the backcourt. One of the reasons Ja is down as far as he is for me is just because of the games played. But it's tough it's tough trying to pick between him, Damian Lillard, De'Aaron Fox. Those guys all really have cases to make it, but everybody can't go. So
Chaz?
Yeah, I think I mentioned just about everybody that I would have on the team. I would also have Devin Booker on there, whether it be, one of the backcourt spots or one of the wild card. I don't think it really matters. I think him and Ja Morant will end up being there. So yeah, I would have them too. And then yeah, I agree with Tunde. I would have Sabonis in there as well. Um, I mean, this Kings team has been really, really surprising this season. They've been one of the most fun teams to watch, in my opinion. And him, Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox have been phenomenal. I think one of the two will probably get an All-Star nod. Not sure who it is, but with the backcourt being so loaded, I feel like it's probably more likely that Sabonis finds his way in. So I'll include him as well.
I definitely think De'Aaron Fox should be in there.
Oh, okay, nice.
So it's funny how we're talking about the Kings.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just a year ago, they couldn't get any airtime. But I definitely think the Kings are making headway. They had 2 All-Stars, I believe. And then that last spot, I don't know. It's hard for me to put Dame there. I can't lie. Like, it's hard for me to put him there.
Yeah.
But if we're going based on name alone, I put him there. If we're going based off just his name, this is Damian Lillard, so he got to be an All-Star. But I don't necessarily know who I would choose over him. And I think that's the bigger problem, is that although I don't think he necessarily deserves it, I don't know who you will put over him. So for that reason, I'm going to give him the nod, even though I'm hesitant to do so. We're good on the Western Conference.
Yeah. Let me end this recording so we can start a new one
Okay.
for the Eastern Conference.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Spoken Truth. Right now, we're going to dive into the Eastern Conference All-Star starters, who we feel should be starters, and the reserves. Tunde, let's start with you first. Let's start with those backcourt in the Eastern Conference. Who deserved the nod? Which 2 players?
Yeah, so this one's pretty easy for me. Donovan Mitchell gets 1 spot, and Tyrese Halliburton gets the other.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. I can already tell Danny's gonna argue. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple. Maybe a little less simple to pick Tyrese Halliburton, but like, I mean, I think we're all seeing what Donovan Mitchell is doing. He's hitting off the dribble shots at a ridiculous rate, frankly, an unsustainable rate. But the ball goes in the basket, we got to give you credit for it. He's facilitating at a really high level. He's averaging almost 30 points a game on over 50% shooting, as again, a guy who is probably generously listed at like 6'3", 6'4". And a lot of it in their offense is them getting him the ball in different ways and letting him cook. He's cooking gourmet meals right now. The Tyrese Halliburton thing, I mean, I don't really see who else I'd be putting over him. He's playing at a super high level right now. He's facilitating at a super high level, reading the floor at a really high level, shooting the ball extremely efficiently. I mean, he's the NBA leader in assists right now, right? I personally don't know how we it would be controversial when a guy is averaging 20 and 10 and flirting with a 50-40-90 season while doing that. Although, Danny, I know we'll find a way to tell me how. I genuinely look forward to it. But that's where I'm at. Chaz, we'll kick it over to you because I have a feeling Danny's going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, I'll go quick then. I definitely would agree with Donovan Mitchell. I feel like he's kind of the one that's locked into that spot. I do agree with you on Tyrese Halliburton being in the conversation. I'm not sure if he's going to be the one. Part of that being the fact that he's Tyrese Halliburton, compared to guys like Trey Young and Kyrie Irving. And I'm not saying anything, about his actual ability because like you had mentioned too, that he reads the floor better than just about anybody. And you add in the fact that, he's so young. And I feel like he's going to have a phenomenal career. He's averaging a league high 10.2 assists, I think it is, shooting 40% from three. He's just been phenomenal. A lot of double digit night assists, a lot of 15 plus assist nights, which you don't really see that from a lot of guys in this league anymore. I think he's in the conversation. He did just go down with an injury. I think it was last night, right? I think he's going to be reevaluated in like 2 weeks, I think I heard. So I'm not sure if that's going to have any impact on it. The other guys I have in the conversation are Trey Young and Kyrie Irving. I would actually put Halliburton above Trey Young, even though his stats aren't as good as Trey Young's are, because I think he's just been more impactful. His team's been better. The Pacers are actually in a playoff position right now, and I don't think anybody would have seen that coming. At an above 500 record into January, which is pretty impressive. And then Kyrie Irving, like I had kind of mentioned for a second, not dealing with the off-court stuff that he dealt with. I feel like he's come back in and he's been phenomenal. The team has been playing better than just about anybody else the last 20 plus games. And then the fact that Kevin Durant is not going to be in the All-Star game, assuming that he's going to stay out with the injury, I feel like there's a good possibility that they'll fill Kyrie in that spot instead. Not as a front court player, but just as a Brooklyn net representing them. I think Kyrie has, the name recognition as well as the on-court statistics this season to be in it. But Tune, I'm right there with you. I think if the All-Star game was tomorrow, I think it would be Halliburton. But I'm gonna have Kyrie as my pick right now.
So you hate Jewish people.
No comment.
I'm sorry. I had to.
definitely. Yeah.
I had to. No, I hear what you're saying. I think that's valid. Obviously, Kyrie Irving has played at a really high level. But like we talk about absences and we talk about missing games. Kyrie did miss an extended stretch of games. And like from my perspective, Kyrie missed an extended stretch of games. For the fact that it was for the reason that it was for is even worse to me, because there was no excuse for him to have to do that. That's worse than just
getting hurt for a few games or something.
Yeah, that's worse than just getting hurt for a few games. Yeah. When it like that's the equivalent of like, I don't know, shooting yourself in the yes, the equivalent of like, I don't know, Wile E. Coyote like shooting himself in the leg, except like I'm not gonna say that. Just it's the equivalent of shooting yourself in the leg. It's just not necessary. Obviously, the counting stats are phenomenal. There's not much you need to say about any of that, right? He's Kyrie Irving, but I'll bet I will not bear the lead here. Kyrie Irving will not be on my ballot. So,
first of all, F Kyrie Irving, all right? Kyrie Irving cost me some money. Okay. So I got a bone to pick with Kyrie, first of all. First of all, that game last week when they played against the Pelicans, I needed Kyrie Irving to score 2 more points, and I would have had $1,000. I needed him to score 2 more points. He wanted to go on a little run at the end of the fucking game and couldn't score 2 little measly points, but instead wanted to run the clock out and couldn't shoot the fucking free throws because it's just good sportsmanship. You don't want to make a shot or a basket. That leaves a bad taste in the opponent's mouth. Dude, you cost me $1,000, dude. Like, granted, it was free money. I bet it was free money. I could have won more money, but it's okay. But it's the simple fact that leave it to Kyrie Irving to cost someone some money. Leave it to him. He's good at fucking a lot of shit up. I would say that. He's good at doing that. He is not on my ballot. It's not just because of that. He's not on my ballot because he's not on my ballot. He's not on my ballot. Nah, not whatsoever. Give me Trae Young. Trae Young, I think he deserves to be an all-star. I think he's putting up better numbers than whoever Tunde said, because I completely ignored him after he said his name.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Don't do that. One of the best young point guards in the league.
Trae Young deserves to be an all-star. I'm just say that.
Let me ask you a quick question. I saw this on Twitter like 2 weeks ago. Who do you guys think is going to be better between the two players in like 3 years? I think it's going to be Halliburton.
Between Tyrese Halliburton and Trae Young?
Yeah.
Trae Young.
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
No, it isn't. It's Trae Young.
It's Tyrese Halliburton he gets his teammates involved way more than Trae Young does. I mean, the offensive rhythm is so much better on the Pacers than it is on the Hawks, and the Hawks have superior talent like at almost every position.
Trae Young is obviously a phenomenal basketball player.
Oh yeah.
But his play style currently doesn't necessarily lend itself to winning at the highest levels. Between the fact that he legitimately might be the worst defensive player in the NBA, between the fact that he doesn't move when the ball isn't in his hands, and I mean like at all, between like the fact that it's like, oh, he's super ball dominant. It is, he's a phenomenal basketball player, super skilled, great passer, but he does play in a little bit of a way where even as nice as he is with it and as skilled as he is as a 3-level scorer, creative finishes at the rim, he plays in a way where like the counting stats that he puts up are great, and it isn't necessarily done in the best way to help the Atlanta Hawks play winning basketball. Him and DeJounte Murray are playing a lot of your turn, my turn, and I just don't think they're good enough to do that. With that being said,
Trae Young is a better player.
All that being said, my answer to that question is probably still Trae Young.
Anyway,
they gotta get him to stop playing like a dickhead a little bit.
Anyways, Trae Young, I'll take Trae Young for 500. Alex, Trae Young, he's the better player. Like, he should be an all-star as long as with Donovan Mitchell. I think we all agree with Donovan Mitchell. He's been playing sensational. Cleveland looks like, dare I say, a legit threat. Like, this team looks for real. I think all of us first guessed it when they put this team together. Like, they're cooking. They're making some noise up there in Cleveland. It's cold as shit there. So, a lot of people don't want to go there. LeBron, bless his heart, he went there because he's born there. But if LeBron wasn't born in Cleveland, I don't think LeBron would. Come on now, we all know. But that's besides the point. But I do think Donovan Mitchell deserved that nod. We disagree with the second player, but I have no problem with the guy that you were talking about.
The guy.
I have no problem with the guy you were talking about. No, no shade, no disrespect.
Why do people
torched the Warriors? I remember that. My sister was at that game. It was a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
He torched the Warriors, and my sister was like, "Man, he's good." I'm like, I was watching on TV. I'm like, man, every time the Warriors trying to make a little run, he extend the lead or he'll push it out or whatever the case may be. So he has a bright future. I just don't think he's there yet to be on par with, and not saying that Trae Young is on like this amazing level, like high level, but I don't think he's there yet. So I do think he can be a reserve though, which I do have him as a reserve, just not a starter. So if that makes you feel better, Tunde, I'd have him as a starter. As a reserve.
I'm just kind of confused as to because Wally Zerbiak went on that whole rant a few weeks back. I'm kind of confused as to what Tyrese Halliburton has done that makes people this upset about him? Is it that he shoots the ball a little weird? Like, what did he?
That Wally Zerbiak rant was so like uncalled for to me. I didn't get where it came from. Like it was weird.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, Tyrese Halliburton want to be All-Star with him."
Yeah.
He was basically called him a bitch, damn near. Like, what did he
It
do?
was so uncalled for. I'm like, you're corny.
That shit was hilarious.
I'm like, you're corny for that, really.
And I mean, like Wally Zerbiak was a solid player, but like, who is he to be saying Tyrese Halliburton is a wannabe All-Star? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Wally Zerbiak did make an All-Star team and was like a very good player, but it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, let's move into the front court. Chaz, who you got in the front court?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this real quick because I think it's pretty easy with Kevin Durant expected to not be in the conversation. I think it's Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum. I don't really see any way about it that it wouldn't be that unless Durant was in the conversation, because obviously KD was playing just as good as those other guys as well. It would have been really difficult to pick one to be on the outside, but I think KD kind of made it easy for us with expected to be missing.
Real quick, because I agree with everything you said on the front court.
Yeah.
If it came down to who's out, if KD was playing, who's out?
I was leaning towards leaving out Tatum, and I felt terrible about it, but I think that's who it would have been, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Sunday, what about you? Who's your front court?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Chaz hit the nail right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
If they all stay healthy, KD gets a spot if he's healthy. Looks very clearly like he's not going to be healthy or able to participate in the game. So it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, and Joel Embiid. To answer your question, because I'm pretty sure you're also going to ask me the same question, Danny.
Yep.
As to who I would have left out amongst those three, assuming KD would have been healthy and would have gotten a spot on my ballot, which he would have. Oh man, would have been Joel Embiid, which is wild to say about the guy who's leading the league in points, but it would have been Joel Embiid.
And I tend to agree with you, Tunde. I think Joel Embiid would have been the odd man out in that situation. I think it would have been Durant. Giannis is undisputed. He's there. And it would have been Jason Tatum, because I think Jason Tatum is having an MVP caliber season. Not to say Joel Embiid isn't.
I think
but also Boston is at the top of the standings right now.
I was gonna say literally the difference for me between those guys was the playoff standings and specifically like Milwaukee's roster right now with Middleton, having been in and out of the lineup and all, is a little disgusting. Especially the backcourt play that they've gotten this year. And Giannis has put them on his shoulders. But it's literally just been like the standings and the fact that you guys are probably going to laugh at this, but like as of, I actually took note of this, and as of like the end of the year, Joel Embiid had played like 300 less minutes than Jason Tatum and Giannis. It was literally like that much of a splitting hairs kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's start with you, Tunde. Who are your reserves? Wherever you want to start.
Let's go the same way, so we can start in the backcourt and make our way down. I already kind of buried or spoiled the lead there with what's going on with the backcourt. As far as Kyrie Irving not being on my ballot anywhere. Jaylen Brown gets the first reserve backcourt spot. I think the defense for him has slipped a little bit this year, but I mean, he's cooking everybody. And he's kind of sliding up the lineup a little bit more. You're seeing him operate almost the way DeMar DeRozan's operated with the Chicago Bulls the last few years. Been really impressed by the scoring uptick. He's come back, and he's gotten better from last year. You always love to see that. The splits are phenomenal. In the mid-range area between 10 and 16 feet, which, that's the kind of stuff that's really important to be able to score from there in the playoffs. He's shooting 58% for the season and 53% from the season from 16 to 23, the long twos. Is that sustainable? Probably not, unless you're Kevin Durant. But that'll tell you something about the kind of work he clearly put in this offseason.
Mhm.
So Jaylen Brown gets one of my spots. Now, this is where it gets really hard. I go with Drew Holiday for the next spot. It's the defense. He is absolutely a phenomenal defender. I mentioned that Milwaukee's roster has been kind of stinky. Drew Holiday hasn't been a part of that. So when we're looking between like Drew Holiday, Trae Young, and Jalen Brunson, which is where I land. I think that Drew Holiday has had the best season of those guys so far, given the total package of what he brings to the table between the defense and the playmaking, and him still scoring at an efficient level to kind of warrant the selection.
Okay. Chas?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on Jaylen Brown aspect. I don't think he played tonight in the win over Brooklyn, but he just had season high 41, I think, the other night against New Orleans on like 71% shooting or something, which is incredible to have 40 plus points on 70+% shooting, averaging 27 and 7. I think he's unquestionable is going to be on the roster. And then for the other spots, since I didn't have Trae Young starting, I'll have him as my other backcourt on the bench.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with basically we're all gonna agree that Jaylen Brown deserves to be there, and then I'm gonna go with the other guy.
Tyrese Halliburton. Let's go.
I'm gonna stop disrespecting him. Maybe.
Start calling you Wally.
But I'm gonna go with him. Because I think, although I don't think he deserves it over Trae, he is having an outstanding season. So I think the NBA should recognize players, even though they don't have they're not the biggest stars, or they're not a star, whatever the case may be. They're not on, championship level teams, whatever the case may be. I think he deserves to be there in some form of capacity, not as a starter, but I think he should be reserved. So, Tunde?
What, for the front court?
For the front court. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, man. So the front court's interesting because the backcourt in the Eastern Conference is like super duper loaded right now, and the front court isn't quite that. So we'll start off with Jimmy Butler. The Heat have been a little bit disappointing this year. Jimmy is still playing high level
They're
basketball.
always disappointing, but never mind.
Sure. The Heat have been a little disappointing, but Jimmy's still playing at a high level, still playing very efficient basketball, and is shooting the ball at a really high level from the perimeter, especially from three, which is not really something that you see a ton from him. So Jimmy gets a spot. Pascal Siakam gets a spot. Pascal Siakam has, again, the Raptors have been disappointing. They don't have enough shooting, all of that. Pascal Siakam is part of the reason why they're, staying afloat. He's even playing a significant amount of time at center while facilitating, again, a situation where he's putting them on their shoulders, averaging 7 assists a game, reading the floor at a really high level, and being tasked with being a primary shot creator and all of that. So the last front court spot, this is one where things are a little tough for me. But I'm going to give it to Bam Adebayo. He's been great as well. It's funny that Miami's going to have on my ballot 2 All-Stars while being a team that's like hovering around 500. But 20 and 10 with playmaking and being arguably the most switchable big in the entire NBA, in my eyes, gets you, an all-star spot.
Chas? Your front court?
Before I get to mine, would Kevin Durant be included in this section, or would he just be a wild card, or just be left off totally? Because he's gonna have enough votes to at least
He would be considered probably a reserve, or I mean, a wild card probably.
Okay. So
I personally am leaving him. Sorry to interrupt you, Chaz. Just so we're clear on what I'm doing, I'm personally leaving him off because he's not going to be able to participate. But
Okay.
I respect that. Go ahead, Chaz.
Right. But I think we all agree that, he's probably going to be on the roster just because he'll have enough votes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can leave him off for now just for the sake of the conversation. I would definitely agree with Pascal Siakam being one. He's been great, even though the team hasn't been, averaging like 26 and 9. Definitely their best player, definitely deserves to be an all-star again. And then I think it's probably more likely that one of the two Miami Heat players gets on the roster and the other one's left off. Like you said, Tunde, because the team has struggled so much this season. So I'm going to lean with Jimmy Butler, getting the appearance, and Bam Adebayo just being on the outside looking in, just barely, because, he's a guy that I think deserves to be in the mix every single year, with that, with the position that he's in at this point in his career. And then the last spot I really struggled with, I actually thought about giving it to somebody like Julius Randle, but I actually kind of landed on Kristaps Porzingis. That's where I'm at right now with it. It was somebody kind of like that: Porzingis, Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, Paolo Banchero, all guys that I feel like you could make an argument for them, but it's probably more likely that they should be left off. And nobody really jumped out to me. Kind of similar to the Western Conference, where it was like Paul George, kind of, but nobody really, made it an easy choice. And that's kind of the same way I feel about the Eastern Conference. Right now, I'm going to go with Kristaps Porzingis, but I think it's just as likely that it ends up being Julius Randle or Bam Adebayo.
I semi agree. I don't think two Miami Heat players should be on there. If I had to choose one, I'm going to go with Jimmy.
Siakam?
I do think Siakam deserves to be there. He's the best player on that team. Although the team is not great, I think he deserves to be. I'm having a hard time with putting Bam or anyone else on this list here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Julius Randle, no. Julius Randle, no. Like, however you pronounce the guy, no. Porzingis, no. Like,
Paolo Banchero?
no.
You're just going to leave that spot open. Let's just leave that.
Hell no. I'm gonna keep it open because I don't think no. No.
Cop out.
Who?
That's a cop out.
I don't know who to put there. If you make me choose,
yes, pick somebody.
If I'm gonna choose, I'm gonna go with Bam by default. But I don't think Bam deserves to be there. Yeah. Like, so if you're making me choose, I'm gonna go with Bam. But I don't think two Miami Heat players should be there. So I'm just going with Bam. Fuck it. I don't agree with it, but like, okay, Bam.
There we go.
So let me ask you a question. If it was positionless, would you feel more comfortable switching in another guard, like somebody like DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that, or do you just feel like there's nobody worth that last spot?
I'm having a hard time putting DeMar in it too, but I think that maybe Bam deserves it a little more over DeMar. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. But I'm going to just go with Bam. I'm not, by any stretch of imagination, comfortable with picking him, but I'm going to go with him just because he got the position by default. Congratulations, Bam. Congratulations.
Yeah, I would have Bam on as one of my wild cards. I think he's probably going to end up being on the roster. I'm not exactly sure. Like we're kind of saying, I feel like it's kind of wide open. Those last like few reserve spots, as well as the wild cards, I feel like they're pretty open. So these next 3 weeks or whatever are probably going to have a lot to do with it. The Heat have been playing a little bit better lately. I think they're like 3 games above 500 now after being under 500 for most of the season. So I don't know. I would have Bam as one of my wild cards, and then I would have DeMar DeRozan as my last wild card, I believe. So you guys have any other players that you think deserve to be on the Eastern Conference team?
Did we yes, okay.
Yeah,
we're to the wild cards, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty. So wild cards for me, it's spot one, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's played at a really high level this year. I don't think there's a ton of arguing that. Like I said in the offseason, when people were like, why the fuck is Jalen Brunson getting paid this money? He's about a borderline all-star in today's NBA, which is exactly the amount of money he was paid. He's made it look really good. The thing that I kind of call out to, and then I kind of look at, you heard me mention this for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but Jalen Brunson's been really good in situations we would categorize where it's, tough to score the ball, where, like you kind of expect the best guys to come through. Late shot clock attempts, like, 5 seconds left in the shot clock, you get the ball. Those are situations in which you're giving it to somebody kind of tough, toss up a tough shot. Some guys would like not try actively to not take those shots so that they don't kill their field goal percentages from a statistic, from just like a pure stats percentage or perspective. Jalen Brunson has taken the ball in those situations. And as of the end of the year, 2022, 64.6% effective field goal percentage in those situations, which is crazy. He's salvaging bad possessions in a Tibbs offense that is not very creative. Can't do nothing but respect it. So he gets an all-star spot from me. That last spot is tough. This is where, like, if I could cop out and just be like, Kevin Durant's on the team, this is where I would do that. But we don't cop out over here. It's real tough for me. I personally would give Darius Garland a spot. A lot of the same reasons. Donovan Mitchell's getting a spot. He's playing at a really high level. Cleveland is a real contender in the East at this point in time. And then when I look at the other people who we would kind of be talking about, like Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan, I think Darius Garland is more deserving. He plays on a better team. I don't think that's accidental. Like Trae Young is some of the reasons why Atlanta is struggling. DeMar DeRozan's poor defense is some of the reason why the Chicago Bulls have been so disappointing this year. Last year, I think one of the reasons why we had DeMar DeRozan, why so many people were talking about DeMar DeRozan for things like All-Star, and even some people like, what about MVP, which is always crazy, was the clutch shooting. Hasn't been the same this year, partially because he was making like one-legged 27-footers last year. That's just not really sustainable. So yeah, that's what my East All-Star ballot looks like.
I will actually like to make an altercation to my list.
It's not Men's Warehouse.
I think that Cleveland deserve 2 all-star starters. I do. They're 6 in the East. They're 10 games above 500. No one really expecting them to be this good. Like, we expect them to be decent, but no one expecting them to be a championship caliber team. I think they deserve their two point guards, the backcourt, to be all-stars. So I'll move Trae Young out. I'll put him as a reserve. And then I tend to agree with you, Tunde, about Brunson. Although I don't think he is he's a guy. So, I mean, he got what the market demanded. He's a guy. I mean, he's not a world beater. He's not going to make your team all of a sudden turn into a championship level team. He's just a guy.
He's not going to make you a contender, but he is.
You're going to win some games. You're going to win some ball games.
Jalen Brunson is literally being paid like exactly what he's worth.
What it is
at the NBA level.
I tend to agree with that. based on how the salary cap has risen and how everything is, how these players are getting paid. I think he's exactly where he needs to be as far as how much he needs to make. So that would be my complete list. I'll move a Trae Young out, put him in a reserve. I'm putting Garland in the starting lineup as well as with Mitchell. I think they deserve it. There's some change for you people. We've been getting consistent lists from all of us throughout, especially the starters. So
Yeah, so one guy that we didn't mention at all, 10-time All-Star James Harden. Do you guys think there's any
no,
chance?
no,
No chance?
no, no.
You think because he doesn't deserve it, or I feel like
I
there's a case that
I
could
don't
be,
think he's been an all-star this year.
I feel like there's a case could be made that he is a reserve.
No,
And so
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
no.
gonna look out for that because I think it's a real possibility. I wouldn't have him, but I definitely think that's somebody that's kind of on that list that when the rosters do come out, I'm kind of expecting to see his name as a reserve.
Nah.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, from a counting stats perspective, he's there. He's been efficient. He's been pretty efficient. I think for me, I think for me, part of it is just the games played and the absences, and then the team success versus some of the other guys that I put in over him. The Drew Holidays and the Jaylen Browns.
Yep.
You guys know who we forgot?
Who?
We forgot the one and only Kevon Looney. Like, he deserves some recognition.
Does he? In this segment, he deserves recognition.
He deserves
The Eastern Conference segment,
Right.
I'm like, why is he on this list, man? Y'all gotta be playing. Like, who
Really?
the person that made, is everybody just alcoholic nowadays and taking drugs or something? Because ain't no way that man should be on that list, but it's okay. It's all right. You know what?
what man should be on what list?
He's on the first return.
Yeah, the Warriors have a huge fan base.
He's on the first. That man, I don't care how big the fan base is. That man should be on that return.
Andrew Wiggins became an All-Star game starter off K-pop
because he deserved it. He deserved it. Like, give All-Star starter Andrew Wiggins and NBA champion his credit. He deserved to be an All-Star. You doing all this hating. Hate ain't gonna get you nowhere, sir.
I don't hate him at all.
He deserved to be there. He deserved to be there.
I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, the whole world didn't though. So majority of the world voted for him. So it's cool.
I don't know.
That's not true, but it's.
I don't know if that's how the math works out.
I don't think that's how the
it's
math
not true,
works
but we're
out.
gonna act like it's true. It's not true, but it is what it is. Andrew's All-Star game starter, Andrew Wiggins. And don't forget, NBA champion, Andrew Wiggins.
I feel like you think he's on track to be like a Hall of Famer or something. No.
You get in the Hall of Fame so easy.
He's not. Let me spoil it for you. He's not getting in the Hall of Fame.
He might have a couple more chips. He used to be a bust. He used to be a bust.
Yeah, I never liked the bust talk, but I feel like he would need like maybe 5-6 All-Star appearances.
He's in the right situation for a player of his caliber. He can't be the best player on the championship team, and they forced that on him. He was never that guy.
Yeah,
he needs to go to a place where he could fit into a system where he don't have to score as much. He could just be him. The Warriors fit perfect. Everybody, when they first made the trade, like, why would you make the trade with D'Angelo Russell for him? I'm like, just wait and see. They're going to turn that man into not a defensive stopper, but they're going to transform that man's game overall. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Kudos to the Warriors. I think his game has been transformed. I think he just operates in a completely different role than he was before.
He wasn't playing the defense that he's played the last 2 years with the Warriors. They was playing in Minnesota.
No, not really. But I mean, when we're talking about what his role is offensively,
he's been that scorer, though. He's been a scorer.
He gets to be now instead of them, he's not on a team where they're asking him to be, I don't know, Jason Tatum. He's on a team now where he's being asked to be Harrison Barnes. And there's a really big difference between the two when now he gets to, catch and shoot threes. He gets the occasional maybe ISO in the flow of the offense. And then he gets to catch, rip, and go. But he's not having to really create a ton of offense anymore.
No, but his game is not the same that it used to be. Like,
well, I'm saying he's not a fundamentally different basketball player. He's just a role.
No, but also I believe he gets better shots because he's in a system that allows him to get better shots. He plays defense better than he's ever played his entire life. He's more efficient. So when I say his game, like his whole game has changed, I'm not talking about from the lens of, oh, son, he can't score, or he's a more effective or efficient. He's a better effective, efficient scorer because he's in that system. That system has made him a better player, offensively and defensively.
Sure, it's the system, but it's also the fact that now, instead of being the one who has to create the advantages for everybody, he gets to play off like Steph Curry, and also in a place where the ball moves and he gets to take open shots.
Well, that's
like if you were to just look at numbers, as just a pure score offensive. I won't even just say score. As an offensive player, somebody like Mikal Bridges is always very efficient, or very efficient scorer. And somebody like James Harden might be less efficient in statistical models. Mikal Bridges is not a better offensive player than James Harden. They just have different jobs, and Mikal Bridges' job is easier than James Harden's job. If you were to just look at pure numbers and say Mikal Bridges is a better offensive player than James Harden, that would be lacking, like completely and totally lacking of context for what they do.
No, but I don't disagree with you, but also we all know he went from being the guy to being a fourth option. That's not the debate I'm having. The debate I'm having that we're discussing is that he allowed his game to change. It is not that he went into a system and all of a sudden he knew he was unequivocally the best player because Steph is on his team, Clay is on his team, Poole's on his team, Draymond, whatever the case may be, all these players on his team. What I'm saying is, Andrew Wiggins wasn't that guy in Minnesota. The way he's playing now, he's a completely different game. Not saying from a perspective of him, how many shots he's making. He's had to shoot 23 times. All this case may be. I'm not saying the volume of which he's shooting. I'm saying he's more wiser with the ball. He moves the ball, and you can credit the system too. He moves the ball more effectively and efficiently. He's played better defense. He's more effective. He's more efficient. His overall, all of his stats are better. Only thing that's different is his scoring has went down because he's not the primary focus on the team. But everything else, he had his best season last year.
Sure.
Because he's in a system that predicates on him at his strength. And they've turned some of his weaknesses into strengths. He wasn't a good defender in Minnesota.
No, not at all.
He's capable, but they turned him to a good defender.
Yeah, I would almost argue great defender, but like, I just think the context is important. That's all.
That's fair.
I don't think he is a fundamentally different basketball player.
That's fair. We just have to agree to disagree, like we do 95% of the time. That's what make it great.
Yes, sir. I mean, if you want to say he's a fundamentally different defender, I would agree with that. But
yeah. Chaz, anything else you would like to say?
I think we're all good on the All-Star picks, right?
All right. Tunde, anything else you want to say?
Nothing else from me.
All right. You see you guys in the next video.
Ready?
Yep.
Cool.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Spoken Truth. Now, we've talked about the All-Star starters and the reserves in the East and the West, respectively. Now, what we did last week was talk about the Western Conference in its totality and talk about some of those contenders and pretenders in the conference. We want to do the same thing we did last week with the Eastern Conference now. Tunde, let's start with you. Let's start at the top of the Eastern Conference, the top of the food chain in the East. What are you seeing differently from the Celtics that we see now versus the team that lost in the NBA Finals? What's different?
Man, I mean, Jaylen Brown is better, so start there. I think we're seeing a little bit more ball and player movement. Just in the difference from going from one coach to a different coach. It probably helps on some level when you got a coach who is, willing to keep it in his pants. So that's different than last year. That's definitely different than last year. To our knowledge, Joe Mazzulla is not having any affairs with his staffers. But from a basketball perspective, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But from a basketball perspective, I think we're seeing a lot more ball and player movement. And keep in mind, most of what they've done this season has been without Robert Williams, who, makes a big difference on the defensive end for that roster. I also think we've seen Jalen Tatum, Jesus Christ. We've seen Jason Tatum take yet another step, the leap, if you want to call it. If you didn't think he was a superstar last year for some crazy reason, he's definitely one now. So,
Chaz, I'll propose the same question to you. We've seen his team lose in the finals last year. What's different? Because I feel like this team has a different feel to it. I will be the first to tell you, I believe right now, presently, the way these two teams are playing right now, if those two teams faced again, I don't know if it goes past 5 with the Celtics winning. So yes. I feel like it's the team is I feel like it's different. I don't think the team is completely different as far as rosters, but I think their mentality, their attitude is different. What are you seeing from that team?
Yeah, I think there is a few things that are different from last season. Tunde, you mentioned the fact that I feel like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have continued to improve. Jaylen Brown has gotten a lot better. I feel like at doing the other things. And Jason Tatum has gone from, a top 10, top 15 player to a legitimate MVP candidate, and can look like the best player in the whole world at times. So I feel like their, small steps have been pretty important for the team. And then I will say that I feel like the offense does flow a little bit better, not only because those guys have improved, but I feel like guys like Derek White and Grant Williams being in the mix for a little bit longer has helped. I think Marcus Smart has taken a little bit of a step back in a good way. You never really know with Marcus Smart because he's kind of that wild card player that, you love to have. But he might have a game where he shoots 20 times and, you only want him to shoot like 7 or 8. I feel like he's done a little bit better of a job at taking that step back and deferring to those other guys, being a little bit more of a pass first player. So I feel like that's helped the offense take a little bit of a step forward. I mean, they're averaging like 118 points per game. And then on the defensive end, I feel like they haven't changed that much, and that's a good thing. I mean, that was the reason that they got to the finals last year. And yet again, they're still one of the best defenses in the league. I think they've dropped off a little bit because of Robert Williams being out, because of Al Horford not playing at the level that he was playing last year, which I think was to be expected given his old age. I think everybody kind of expects him to be a little bit more impactful in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. But I think this team they're a well-oiled machine to me. I mean, if they wind up back in the finals again, it's not going to surprise me one bit. And if the season ended today, they would probably be my pick to win it all.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, like a couple of years ago, a lot of people in the media had the mentality like that talent is big enough for both of them. One of them got to go. And now look what they're doing now. They're easily, one can argue, the favorite and should be the favorites to win the NBA championship. Yeah. I think this team has, from what I've seen last year in the finals, when I correctly picked the Warriors to win the championship in 6 games, is that this team has not only, I think, that bonded them, but I think sometimes when you're a new player, not new as far as being in the NBA, but new to the stage of the NBA finals, that can, whether you want to believe it or not, that can weigh on you as far as how you play. and I believe it did that to Jason Tatum. He picked the absolute worst time to have the worst 6-game stretch of his career that I can remember in recent history. And obviously he did some good stuff in that series, but relatively was disappointing to a lot of people in that series, including myself. I think I want to be mad for someone to pick this team to win it all. I'm personally not there yet as far as the East, because I think the Bucks are so formidable, and I think healthy, they're a tough out. But I do think if this team were to get back, I wouldn't be surprised if they win it all. Looking and see how the West is looking, the West is more stacked to me than the East as far as how these teams are jumbled up, and how on any given night you could be an 8th seed and a team lose, or you could be in a 5th seed. The West is so close that a team that go on a 3-game winning streak can all of a sudden find themselves in the top 5 in the Western Conference. I don't think that bodes well, because for anybody, especially in the West, because I know moving to the West a little bit, but just to harp on the point that I was trying to put it in the bowl, kind of, the West to me is so wide open that to me it favors a team that has experience, i.e. Golden State, i.e. The Lakers, if they can get into the playoffs, make some noise in there. It favors team that has experience. So to me, I don't write out those teams like I used to. The Lakers, I'm not writing them out this year to potentially make noise in the Western Conference because of that. Back to the East. I do think that comes into effect when you're playing a team like the Golden State again, like that version that we're used to, or a team that's led by LeBron. I don't think quite yet that I might be the only one, but I'm going to say it. I don't think quite yet that Jason Tatum's a superstar. Like, I don't think he's there yet.
Well, what else would he need to do?
Honestly, it's not even about winning a championship at this point. I don't want to say he's reached his ceiling, but I think when I think of superstars, I think of caliber of players that when I look at them, I believe they can be prohibitively the number one de facto best player on a championship team. And to me, call me crazy,
That's not that.
I don't think Jason Tatum can be a 1.
But like at some point, this is just like subjective. Like,
no, it isn't
based on your feelings. This isn't based.
No, it's not based on my feelings, because I've said it before that I don't think Jason Tatum is a 1. I said the same thing with Luka Doncic.
You don't think almost anybody is a 1 if they haven't already won like 2 championships.
That's not fair.
So who do you think?
Why isn't it fair? Who do you think is a 1 in the NBA?
That's not fair.
Who do you think is the one, is somebody that you consider?
I don't think Kevin Durant is a 1, and he got titles.
Yeah, all right. If you we're done here, if you don't think KD,
I don't think Kevin Durant did not be de facto lead a team by himself as being the sole reason that team won it. Obviously,
nobody can do that. Nobody in the league can do that.
When I mean sole reason, I'm not meaning that you have to single-handedly carry a team like LeBron James did to an NBA Finals, because no one's LeBron James. I'm not expecting you to do that. I'm saying you have to be, without a doubt, the de facto reason why your team won a championship. If you cannot prove that to me personally, you need assets around you, just like a lot of people. I'm not saying this isn't for everyone in the league, but I'm saying you need the help more than other people need in order to get to that point. I'm not saying Kevin Durant's not a great player. I'm saying Kevin Durant needs support of other all-time great players to get to a point where he was in Golden State. The proof that's in the pudding, because we've saw it in Brooklyn, where
I feel like by those standards, there would be 3 in the whole league, and it would be Steph, LeBron, and Giannis, and that's it. Are those the only superstars in your opinion?
No, that I don't. I want to
Because
say
you
that,
can't have Jokic, right? You can't have Embiid.
but
You can't have Luca.
what this conversation has shifted now
Well,
because
I
we're
don't know.
not
I don't really know
because
where.
Tunde was talking about superstar, but now we're talking about number one. That's a difference.
Okay,
You
so
could be a
why don't
superstar
you
and you could
feel?
be a superstar and not be able to will your team to a championship.
But I asked you, what can Tatum do to become a superstar, and that's the first thing that you went to, right?
No,
So
I'm not.
how can
What
Tatum become a
what
superstar?
what I said is I don't even think it's about the championship. That's exactly what I said when you asked that
So how
question.
can Tatum become a superstar?
It just has to be something that I see. Like he has to be de facto. Can he be de facto the best player in a crucial
You just said
series?
that's not what a superstar means, though, right?
No, we're not talking about superstars.
No, we are. That's
We
what the
talking about de
conversation was.
facto. We talking about de facto. The reason why your team. We're talking about two different conversations.
Okay,
Tunde was talking about
can you answer my
superstars.
question though? Because the thing that you said that made me go off on this tangent was that you said I still don't think Jason Tatum is a superstar, and that
Yes,
surprised me because I thought
yes. But the
within the last
difference,
year.
but that's the difference is we're comparing two different things.
Well, then answer my question then. What can
John Moran
Tatum
is probably
do?
John Moran. You could say John Moran's a superstar. Do I think he could be
I
a
would.
number one on a team? I don't think so. So
Okay,
I
so
think
what can Tatum do to become a superstar in your opinion?
I think Jason Tatum, in order for me, I think he needs to have a playoff series where he is without a doubt the best player in every single round.
Okay.
Which meaning I'm not saying which granted, I'm not trying to put overly expectations on this man. I'm saying this. I know Giannis is a better player than you, but can you play on par with him? I still think.
He did. He did.
I
He
know he
did.
did. To me, Giannis was without a doubt the best player in that series, even though he lost.
Woo!
Without a doubt, it
Tatum
wasn't
going
close to me.
Tatum going
It
for
wasn't
45
close.
on the road in an
It wasn't
elimination
close to
game.
me. It
40.
wasn't close to me. Over the span of
Yeah.
the series,
I
it
mean,
wasn't close to me.
whew,
It
I don't know.
wasn't close to me.
I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't close to me. But
I feel like if Tatum didn't prove it last year, the only thing that is gonna prove it is for him
was
to win
winning
it
the
all.
title.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. I don't like the note. I mean, granted, I don't. You guys always think to me it's about champion. It's not always about championship because everyone don't get a championship. But how I judge players is on a scale. So just because you're a superstar doesn't mean you could be the best player and lead a team to a championship or be
Yeah.
the best player on a championship level team. Even being on a championship level team doesn't mean that all of a sudden you could be a de facto number. Now, granted, you're de facto number one for that team. I don't think Devin Booker's a number one. I don't think Phoenix has a number one. But Phoenix is a good, well-oiled machine. Well, there was a couple of years ago. But to me, I don't think Phoenix has a number one option. I don't think Devin Booker, this is what I mean by number one, is I don't think Devin Booker is good enough to will a team and be the best player in every single series he is in, despite winning a championship. You can fall short, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying you have to win it all. Fuck it. You don't have to win it all.
Okay,
But
I got one more question. Well, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the one more question that I have is for you to believe that somebody can do it, do they have to do it? Because I 100% believe that Tatum can do
Well,
that. And
if
that's
he
why
can do
I
it,
believe he's a
if he can do it,
superstar.
he will.
Not necessarily. That's not true.
If I have the ability to fly, I'm gonna fly.
No, that's not true.
If
I mean,
if God gave me
so
wings to
you're gonna
fly,
say,
I'm gonna at least want. If God gave me the ability to fly, you best believe I'm gonna be flying in that sky.
so you don't think
So you talk.
so, wait, just answer this. So you don't
Yes,
think Charles Barkley had the ability to win a championship?
I don't think Charles Barkley.
Did
I
he
don't
have the
think
ability to?
I don't think Charles Barkley was good enough to be a number one option on a championship level team.
Okay, I just think our expectations are
He
different.
was a he. The thing is, he was a
He's
number
one of the
one.
20 best players ever.
He was a number one.
He was.
Which
He
is
was
what
an
I'm saying.
MVP. He was a number one of the whole league when he
But
was MVP.
hold on. I think you're mixing. I think you're missing my point. I think we're understanding each other. I think you're kind of just because you don't win a title doesn't mean I don't think you can be a number one.
Okay.
That's not my point. That's never been my point. That's never been my take. Just
Okay.
because you're just because you don't win a title doesn't mean you can't be a number one. What I'm saying is that you have to be unequivocally, by far, the best player when you're playing up against other superior players that's on par with you. That's been my point. That's been my point. Kevin Durant is completely on a completely different scale. He's with all-time great player. Do I think he's the number one? Do I ever think Kevin Durant win another title? Absolutely not. Do I think he could lead a team to another championship? Absolutely not. Let's see if he do it. I don't think he can.
I honestly, I said this last year. Even if he never does again, I still think that he has the ability to.
Do it then.
But there's circumstances. There's other people
there's
you're
always
competing against.
circumstances,
Like,
and it's not. And again,
yeah,
it's not always about.
but
It's
just
not always
because
about titles. It's not always about titles. But
yeah,
Kevin Durant.
that's why once I see something that I believe that you have that in you. I mean, I saw that in Luka in year one.
You're going based off emotions and feelings.
Well, I'm going based off
instead of being objective.
I'm going based off of how I see and view them rather than waiting until they accomplish it.
But I'm not waiting.
Well, I feel like you are. You said for Tatum to prove it, you need to see him go 4 straight rounds being the best player.
That's not the.
So you're waiting until he does it to believe that he can do it.
Waiting is like
I believe Tatum can do it right now.
You just told me 3 minutes ago that you believe that you have to physically hold the trophy up as winning the NBA championship for me to say, okay, you're could be a one or you're a superstar. That's not the case.
No, I didn't say that.
You did say that.
I said it takes a championship to be what?
Yes. And I've never said that. I never said that.
I didn't say that. To be what?
You said the way that I make it sound like is that you have to win the championship.
That's how you make it sound because it seems like you say you need to wait to see it on the biggest stage.
No, but that's never been my case. I've never made that case.
I know that's how I said it seems because I said how can Tatum prove it? You said he needs to be the best player. I said how can KD prove it? You said he needs to
you have to win a title.
But you said he needs to be the best player on the floor 4 rounds in a row. I think he's going to win it all if he does that.
No, that's not what I didn't say that either. I didn't say he has to be on. I didn't say 4 rounds in a row.
Yes, you did.
You didn't even have to make it to the finals. No, I didn't. I said you have to.
Hey, run the tape back. Run the tape back. You said Tatum needs to be
run the tape back because I did not. I did not say he has to win 4 rounds in a row. I say he has to be.
You said he needs to unequivocally be the best.
He needs to be the best player.
Yes, that's
in the rounds that he plays.
I disagree with that. I said once I believe you can do that.
It's agree to disagree. It's a agree to disagree because you're not.
I can't believe that we're still at the point where we're discrediting Jason Tatum. I can't believe that.
You can't tell me that Jason Tatum was the best player in that Bucks Celtics series. He wasn't.
I don't think he was either, but I think you can make an argument.
I will not let you disrespect Giannis like that.
But okay.
No.
So that means that Tatum can't be a superstar then?
No.
So I don't get it.
No.
I don't get
it. He can't be a one. Oh my God.
Hey, let's move on to the Nets. Let's move on to the Nets.
It's you're all right.
I tried to ask one question. It turned into 10 different things.
If you're going to correlate me saying that someone is not a superstar or is a superstar with being a number one option, that's your prerogative. There's 30 number ones to teams out there. Every team has their version of their best player.
Yeah. As they you don't believe there's 31s, right?
There's not 30 number ones,
but I agree.
They're number one. So for you to take my take on being a number one option and to try to correlate it with being a superstar, brother, those are two completely different arguments.
My original
there's
question,
not even 5 superstars in the NBA.
Danny, my original question was how can Tatum become a superstar? And you started talking about ones. I didn't have anything to do with that. That was you.
You did the whole conversation about a one because I mentioned it.
But I said, how can Tatum become a superstar? And now we're 20 minutes later talking about 10 different things.
No,
I wanted to know how in 2023, Jason Tatum averaging 30 plus points per game, being a top 7 player in the world is not a superstar. I still don't know how you can think that.
I don't think he's a superstar, and
that's fine to disagree. I
think,
just don't. I don't see.
I think I didn't explain to you the different viewpoints. We've went all over the place with it. Like, to me, we can classify stars and superstars however you want to classify them. To me, there's not even 5 superstars in the NBA. So, like I said, we can classify completely different. We can have stars, we can have whatever the case may be. But to me, there's not 5 game changers in the NBA. And that's one of the definitions of how I rank superstars. So if that's the case, then we have differences of opinion of how we say or how we define superstars and other things like that.
Yeah. We definitely have different definitions of things.
But to me, Jason Tatum is not a superstar.
That's fine. He is to me. He is to Tunde. He is to 90% of the world. So let's keep it moving.
That's not true. That's not true. And I could bring people on that will tell you the same thing.
Let's do it. Let's have a whole nother show with just that. But let's move on to the Nets right now. Let's move on to the
Nets.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this, and then if y'all want to move on, we can move on.
All right, let's go. Come on.
90% of the Chaz is being nice when he says 90% of the world. It's more than 90% of the world.
Okay.
That thinks Jason Tatum is a superstar.
Okay. All right, let's talk about.
Most people think like Ja Morant is, and we all know Jason Tatum is better than Ja Morant.
Okay, let's talk about the Nets.
I think we just have a little bit lower.
We have different rankings, and it's okay.
Just different.
We have different rankings of superstars. It's okay, but it's a difference of opinion. So to me, Jason Tatum is not a superstar. I'm not the only one, but it's okay.
Not the only one, but I would say most people.
I'm the only one in the world that don't think Jason Tatum is a superstar, ladies and gentlemen. I could call 10 people right now. He's not a superstar in their opinion. That's their opinion, though. And
let's talk to him. Let's talk to him another day. Let's move on to the Nets, though. I got to get going in like 20, 25 minutes.
All right, let's talk about the Nets.
Yeah,
let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Tunde, you want to start with the Nets?
Yeah, sure.
Or are you still laughing? You want me to go to Chaz?
You said what?
Or are you still laughing? You want me to go to Chaz?
Oh no, let's talk about the Nets.
Okay.
No, this is I'm just enjoying some discussion is all.
I gotta stop getting wrapped up in those.
I mean, what's funny is on the last one I was like, we're not gonna do this anymore. You remember when LaMelo Ball did that post-game interview and he was like, new year, new me?
Mm-hmm.
Same me though. That might be
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, same us.
I mean, this is the same guy that think Durant is the number one, but
we're not doing this right now.
I think 100% of the people in the world think Durant is the number one.
No,
except
just you. It's
no.
just you.
Tell him to prove
you said that was like a hot take.
Tell him to do it then. Tell him to do it then. Without a super team. Tell him to do it without a super team.
Anything
we've seen this movie before. Then the team just went without him. We've seen it. We talk big bad Kevin Durant. He's the reason this team got all these titles.
Kevin Durant not a superstar.
Nobody's
that's a conversation for like.
See, you just made the argument again. Kevin Durant not a superstar. I did not say that. I did not say that.
Wait, what did you say then?
You just said that. Oh, Kevin Durant. You just the same point that I kept telling you I didn't make. You just said that I said Kevin Durant is not a superstar. I did not.
What did you say? You say he's not a number one.
I said he's not number one. You said in return that he's not a superstar. I didn't say that.
He's both.
I didn't say that.
He's both. We all know he's both.
I didn't say that.
He's been both for the last 10 years.
That's a lie.
Literally since like 2012, he's been both.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
So the Brooklyn Nets, 27-14, right? This team was 18-2, which was their best stretch since they entered the NBA. I think since they were in their ABA days. So 18-2. What have you guys been seeing from the Nets the last couple months for where they've gone from being out of the play-in now to being all the way up to number 2 in the Eastern Conference? They lost tonight to the Celtics. Kevin Durant's going to be out a month. So just what are your overall general thoughts on the Nets right now?
I mean, it's not a number one option.
So moving past that stupid shit.
Well, y'all kept it going, so I can keep it going.
All right. So
that's my mistake.
What I've seen from the Brooklyn Nets this year,
it's all
and what I've seen in the most recent stretch, yeah, absolutely. What I've seen in the most recent stretch is KD doing everything at a super high level. It's just like how easy he makes it all look. It's crazy. And since they fired slash has Steve Nash, you know, since Steve Nash stopped being the head coach, they've stopped running him. They've stopped running the expose him offense. There's a little bit more ball and player movement. You're getting better in the way of, leveraging some of the cutting that they've had. But it's really all started with KD. And obviously the scoring is what it is. He's one of the greatest scorers to ever touch a basketball. A lot of people would argue he is the greatest scorer to ever touch a basketball. But like the playmaking has been really impressive. And that's what I'm seeing when I see the Nets right now. It's KD is just playing at an unbelievably high level, and everything is coming off of that. And I mean, I say all of this offensively, but like this is, I would say, the best defensive season I've ever seen from KD. He is locked the fuck in on that end. In every way, shape, and form, guarding multiple positions, he's protecting the rim. There's nothing he's not doing. And when Kyrie Irving came back from his break, he has come back and has scored the ball at a really high level, a really efficient level. We've seen Ben Simmons shake off a little bit of the injuries and play nice basketball. Look a little bit better, defense and facilitating, which we all know he does both at a high level when he's, himself. Even getting really fun stuff from guys like Yuta Watanabe, who's hitting an absurd amount of catch and shoot threes right now, a crazy percentage. So just fun basketball to watch from the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. I mean, he's been playing all right, decent. I'm just playing,
Kevin Durant
has looked fantastic. I give credit where credit's due, even though I don't think he's a number one option. That's neither here or there. That's not the topic or the discussion.
Let's keep it moving.
But yeah, he's been playing, decent. That's all I got.
The Kevin Durant hate is crazy.
Why?
That's all you can say about what KD's done.
Let me get this off my chest real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The reason why I don't particularly care for Durant so much.
Oh, you finally admit it.
Is that no, but everything I say, I mean it, but it has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. The only reason to me I don't particularly care about Kevin Durant is I believe he ruined the NBA. From a standpoint of you made a team so unbeatable that it changed the trajectory of the landscape of the NBA. And now a lot of teams, and he wasn't the first one to do it. He was just, LeBron was the first one to do it, but LeBron didn't join a team that just was fresh off of 73-9 season, who had a back-to-back final, like back-to-back MVP unanimously, first and ever in the history, and a team that was virtually unbeatable until they got walked down by Cleveland 3-1, and LeBron had perhaps the greatest, other than, and I would say when he went against the Spurs, the best 3-game stretch he had in his entire career. Even though they lost to the Spurs, I believe he was fantastic. The greatest 3 games I ever saw LeBron James play. It's not that I don't dislike Kevin Durant. It's just I can't respect, I can't respect that. I can't respect the guy that goes to a team that just walked you down from 3-1, and all of a sudden you join that team and you ride the gravy train through to go to championships. Now, obviously he was a great player on that team, but I can't respect someone who takes the easy way to get rings, and that's what he did. Whether you want to look at it one way or the other, whether you want to say LeBron made similar moves, whatever the case may be, LeBron didn't join a team that was stacked with all-time greats on it. And to me,
I think he did.
I don't think so. I don't consider Basha all-time great. Like he's great, but I don't consider Basha. Chris Basha all-time great.
Whether we're getting into whether you think Chris Bosh is an all-time great or not, because that's not productive.
Yeah.
I do think Danny Chaz, I do think there is a difference between the Warriors who had already won a championship, had the 73-9 season, had the system going, had the offensive system with all the motion, the defensive system that they ran and kept in place after KD joined. There's a difference between that and what happened in Miami with the Heatles, where, you know, LeBron and Chris Bosh joined the Heat with D Wade, but there wasn't the bones for the championships they ended up winning had to be built from scratch. Whereas those are already existed and up and running with the Warriors.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's something that you want to say, man, you still like judging someone for that, but a lot of people cannot let that go. And no matter what, I like the Warriors. It's not even about because that team became unbeatable. And it's me simply saying that is one of the reasons why I know I'm not being biased. It's because it made the team that I like unbeatable. Like, I'm wearing their hat. It made the team that I like unbeatable. So the fact that you have an all-time great player joining a team that is one of the best regular season team in history with a unanimous MVP, who is, to me, a top 10 player of all time, and a unanimous MVP, like, to me, you have to validate your credentials that you already have with a championship outside of the place where it was easy to do. Like, you have to do that. In order for me to validate Kevin Durant, and obviously, I think he's an all-time great player. Like, I have him number 12 as far as all-time. I think 12 or 11, one of them. But I think he has to win outside of that juggernaut team. And I'm not saying it was a benefit for the Warriors to bring him. But I'm also saying is it hurt him. And one of the reasons he left is he was never going to be Steph in San Francisco. Let's call it what it is. So I think he has to validate. That's been my point since day one. I don't ever think I've derailed from that point. I think he has to win as de facto the guy. Not saying he has to be by himself, not saying he has to will and carry a fucking terrible ass team to a championship. He has to win a championship outside of Stephen Curry. Until he can do that, it's going to be what it is. And I'm not the only person to have the same mindset.
Do you think the Nets have a chance to do that this year?
I think the Nets have a great chance, barring injuries and barring Kyrie, because Kyrie is a big factor in this. Barring Kyrie, I think they have a chance to get there. Do I think they could beat the Bucks? I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. I have to see it for anyone to get past the Bucks again. Like, I have to see Boston get past them again. I have to see the Nets get past them again in order for me to say, okay. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just think Giannis is overwhelmingly the best player that is going to take a Herculean effort from Kevin Durant to get past him. So he's going to need the best. He's going to be the best. He's going to need to be the best version of himself to beat Giannis. And if he can do that, then he's gonna prove a lot of doubters wrong. He's gonna get past them. Doesn't say you have to win a championship, but I'm saying he's gonna get to that point where, okay, I'm competing again, and it's outside of where I was. You know, a lot of people have that different mindset. To me, I think he has to win another one. I'm not saying it has to be this year. Not saying it has to be with the Nets. I think in order for a lot of people to validate Kevin Durant 2 titles, he has to win another one outside of Steph. And I don't think that's far-fetched that for me to say. In fact, a lot of people tend to agree with me on that one.
But then if you feel all of this about Kevin Durant, which, you know, let's just put it this way. If you feel all of this about Kevin Durant, like, he needs to, you basically, let's be real. This is you calling Kevin Durant a front runner. Like, if you're saying Kevin Durant is a front runner,
which he did in Golden State.
I'm not arguing that one way or another. But if you think Kevin Durant is a front runner, then like, why can we just say that instead of like saying that Kevin Durant isn't a one or not a superstar or however it is?
I've never said Kevin Durant wasn't a superstar.
Oh, sorry, the Kevin Durant isn't a one. So if you're saying that's what you said, Kevin Durant isn't the number one option on the championship team. Like, can we just say that you think KD is a front runner, I guess, or whatever it is that we're calling it instead of that? Because like one of those things is a bit more opinion. The other one is just like wrong.
And I can't tell. Show me it's wrong. I'm waiting.
I don't know how you can be the 12th best player of all time when you're not a number one.
Yeah, like, so there's only been 11 number ones in the history
all
of
time.
NBA.
All time.
Yeah. Ever.
Shit, it's only been 10 in my opinion.
Okay. I really
like. I feel like you're like the hardest.
I had to throw that one out.
I don't even know who that was supposed to be a shot at, but
I had to throw that one out. I just thought it was funny, which it was. So
yeah.
But all right. So that's my spill on Kevin Durant that I've been saying for 2 years now. And I think a championship validated it with the Golden State Warriors last year that he has to win one. And I think actually at that particular time, Chaz, you actually agree with me that he needs to win one. If I'm not mistaken, you said this puts pressure on him to win a championship.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I agree with you that he needs to win one to detract the doubters. I don't think he needs to win one to become a number one.
I keep receipts.
Can I just
the doubter? Yeah. I never thought him not a one. I never said he wasn't a one.
Now that we've opened up Pandora's box, you said KD is the 12th best player of all time. Just who do we have above him? This is just more out of curiosity. Like, it doesn't even have to be in order, but
who do we have above KD?
Yes, sir.
LeBron, Michael, Magic.
Michael, Magic, Bird, Larry, Steph, Hakeem, Shaq, Duncan. Where are we at?
This Hakeem. 10. You said that one already.
Magic.
Now, do you have Will and Bill?
Wilt, Kareem, Russell.
That's more than 12, but all right. Yeah. Okay.
But I'm just obviously I think they're all in that ballpark, but there's definitely Kevin Durant's not a top 10 player. Let's not do this today. Like, can we not play with the people? Like, can we not play with the people? Kevin Durant's not a top 10 player. Like, can we stop? Like, for God bit, y'all.
I don't have him in mind either, but if you have number 12, you can't act like he's like far cry from 10.
No, I didn't say he was far cry. He's number 12.
Yeah.
11, 12.
Yeah.
He's number 12.
You just said he's in that ballpark, though.
He's in the ballpark of the 12. He's 12. He's in that realm. I have to map out the list.
Yo, Danny's hilarious.
All right, for real. So I got LeBron, I got Jordan, I got Magic, I got Shaq, I got Kobe, I got Kareem, I got Shaq. I got Duncan, I got Hakeem, I got Steph. I have Wilt and I have Kareem. That's 11, and Hakeem. That's 11.
All right,
they're all better than Kevin Durant.
I'm not mad at that list.
I know I'm right. Thank you very much.
But those are the only number ones in NBA history. Those guys right there.
Like Charles Barkley.
You were the same person. You were the same person a year ago that said Devin Booker was a superstar. I don't want to hear nothing from you.
I believe that.
I know he's not a superstar.
Okay.
In what metric? In what world? We say 2020 vision?
I just think our definitions of superstar they're drastically different.
Yeah.
Like, I literally think like Russell Westbrook could still be considered a superstar.
No.
I'm not saying he is, but like I'm saying it's more. I'm saying it's just as much about like your career, your accolades, like your recognition. It's all about that. It's more than just being on like what you do on the court.
That's where you lose credibility, sir. That's where you lose it at.
Devin Booker.
So how many superstars is it in the league?
I think there's probably like 15, maybe.
Can you name them for me?
Let's do
I
that another day. Let's do that another day. I gotta
No,
get.
no, no. Can we do? I'm
Oh, I
really
would.
curious.
I gotta get going at like 11. So if you don't want to talk about the Eastern Conference, I can do that.
Oh, let's run it down real quick. But I'm really curious to hear this list. I really want to hear it. Like, let's talk about these Bucks. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. How far? Obviously, I think they're right now was probably tied. Well, I think to me they're the favorite in the Eastern Conference. Tunde, where
Why-
do you have the Bucks?
Well, no, I kind of want to hear Danny. Why do you feel that way? Why would you prefer the Bucks at this point over like the Celtics, who I think that would be my pick right now? And Tunde, would you agree with that as well?
I mean, I think right now I think the Celtics are a better team than the
Mhm.
Bucks are, and I also think the Nets are a better team than both of them.
Okay.
But,
Oh
Right,
wow.
right now I'm leaning Celtics. At the beginning of the year, I picked the Bucks. So like, I definitely see where you're coming from, Danny. I just kind of want to hear from you why.
I
Okay.
think I think when it comes down to it, and obviously right now the Celtics are the best team in the East
Mhm.
record wise. But I think when it comes down to it in a series, I do believe that Giannis will perform at an all-time level, like he always do. And last year, I believe that they weren't 100%. They were Middleton didn't play. They had some injuries. I believe this Bucks team healthy can beat the Celtics.
Do you think this
I
Bucks team?
think convince. I think it. I think it. I'm not going to say convincingly, but I do think they can beat them in six games. I don't think it can go seven. I don't
I
think.
agree with you. I think both teams fully loaded. Like, let's say this is like this year's Celtics team facing the 2020 Bucks team that won it all. Obviously with some variations. Their bench has changed a little bit, but saying that they have their core four, as well as a couple of those bench players with Chris Middleton playing at that level, I would probably lean the Bucks as well. But the way that we've seen this year start, I don't know if we're going to get there with the Bucks this year. I mean, we're only a few months away from being at that point. Chris Middleton's only played like 6, 7 games, I think it is, averaging like 20, less than 25 minutes per game, only averaging like 11 points a game. I know it's a long process. He's been back for a little bit, not playing back to backs, not playing a lot of nights, but I just don't know if he's going to be ready. And I don't know if this team is going to be ready by the time we get to the playoffs. So that's why right now I lean Celtics, even though a few months ago I would have said, I think when the Bucks get Chris Middleton back, I think they're better than the Celtics. But I just don't. Maybe I'm just not as confident that Chris Middleton is going to get back to that level by the end of this year.
Okay. Tunde, you got anything else on that topic?
the topic of the Milwaukee Bucks being favorites or not being favorites.
Yes.
I mean, I think right now their roster lacks depth, and like depth and athleticism. I think Chris Middleton is somebody who moves the needle and makes things look different. But yeah, just right now as it stands, I don't really see the Bucks beating the Celtics or the Nets in a 7-game series. With Giannis Antetokounmpo being who he is, which is probably the best player in the NBA.
Isn't probably he is, but it's okay.
We're
I just playing with you. I'm going to list off a team, and I want you guys to tell me if this team is a pretender or a contender.
Okay. Contender
76ers.
to sorry, I always gotta ask questions. Contender
Go
to
ahead, go
make
ahead.
the finals or make the conference finals?
Can make the finals.
To make the finals.
And
Okay.
tell me how far this team could go. If they're a contending team, tell me how far they can go. If they're pretending, tell me their ceiling.
I like this. Go ahead.
76ers. Chaz.
I'm gonna say
Pretenders or
I'm gonna say
contenders?
pretender and their ceiling is a conference finals, but I kind of doubt that.
Okay. Tunde.
I'm at about the same place. I guess pretender. And yeah, I mean the ceiling is I'll go actually one further than Chaz, and I'll say the ceiling is a conference semifinal, because they in our what we just talked about, they would run into one of the Nets, Celtics, or Bucks, and I just don't think they're better than any of those teams.
Yes.
I would say pretender as well, and I'll say second round exit. Let's go with the Miami Heat. Chaz, pretenders or contenders?
I'm definitely going to go pretender. I think that they've been playing a little bit better this last few weeks, so I think they will get into the playoffs at 23-20 right now. But I'm still going to go pretender. I'm going to go ceiling, first round exit.
Tunde.
I'm gonna say pretender, and I'm gonna go ceiling conference semifinal, second round exit. It's the same question I had with them last year. Where does the half court scoring come from?
Mhm. I'm going to go pretender as well. I'm going to go second round exit for this kind of the same reasons both of you guys said. Let's move on. Let's go to Chicago Bulls. Contenders or pretenders, Chas?
Pretender next.
Yeah, like I was about to say, I don't even know. Like that, why is that? I don't even know why we're discussing this contest. That might not be a playoff team.
Yeah, I think ceiling play-in. Ceiling is probably play.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What
The
about
Cleveland
their?
Cavaliers,
No, that's who I was going to ask. Their
pretenders or
division record.
contenders? Chas?
I guess by our definition, I guess I'll still say pretender. But I'm going to say that this team can reach the conference finals. So I mean, I guess they would, somewhat have a shot to make it to the finals. I would be shocked if they actually got to the finals. I wouldn't be if they got to the conference finals, though.
Conde.
I'll say contender. And I will say that oh man. I'll say contender, and although I don't think it's sustainable the way Donovan Mitchell is shooting the ball off the dribble and creating for himself, right now I'll say that I think their ceiling is making the finals. Do I think they will make the finals? No, not at all. But we'll say that's the ceiling.
I'm going to go contenders. I think their ceiling is the NBA Finals.
Nice.
So real quick, we're going to go through. We have a couple more teams here in the Eastern Conference. I want to play a game called This or That. Basically, what that entails is that I'm going to give you guys a team. You're going to tell me what exactly you like about this team and what do you see in the upside for this team. Now we're going to compare two teams, and I want you to say this or that. I want you to pick the team, and I want you to tell me which team you see has a better upside in the next 5 to 10 years, and where you could see this team ceiling being in the future. Now we're doing a little projection, so we're talking about some of these lower level teams in the Eastern Conference. So let's see who has a good future and a good upside. Let's first start with the Detroit Pistons and the Toronto Raptors. This or that?
Pistons.
I'm gonna go Pistons.
Okay.
That's
What's the upside?
tough.
What's the future for them?
What'd you say?
Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart if he sticks around. Killian Hayes, the playmaking is finally translating because he's being more aggressive, getting 2 feet in the paint consistently and threatening people at the rim. So, I mean, there were questions whether Killian Hayes was an NBA rotation player up until this year. He's definitely an NBA rotation player now. I look at that, and then I look at the fact that the Pistons this year are still bad enough that their draft pick will land them a lottery pick in what right now looks like one of the best drafts in my lifetime, if not the absolute best draft in my lifetime as far as just pure depth. And yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be excited about their future.
What's the trajectory for the Pistons? What's that ceiling you see in the next 5 to 10 years? What can they be?
Things change so rapidly in the league. 5 years ago, what is it, 2023? So, I mean, 5 years ago, Kevin Durant was a Warrior. Zach LaVine played with the Timberwolves, right? Like, things change so rapidly in the league. I guess, I mean, if you think Cade Cunningham is, Luka is the Luka light, and you think that Jaden Ivey turns into Donovan Mitchell, and you think Jalen Duren looks like a young Dwight Howard, because and you could say anything you want about what'll happen in 10 years. Nothing is crazy, right? Then the Pistons might win the championship. But also, I might be dead in 10 years. I might be, living somewhere in South America. I don't know. Who's to say?
Okay. Chas, this or that, the Pistons or the Toronto Raptors?
I would lean Pistons too. I think they have the better young core. But one thing that I always worry about the Pistons is that I feel like the organization is not very strong. And that's something that I might lean towards with the Raptors. It seems like, with their coaching staff, with their infrastructure in the front office, it seems like they are able to get things done much more efficient than the Pistons have in the last decade. So I don't know. That's something that I would kind of worry about with the Pistons. But I think if you just talk about the young core, the Pistons have like 6 really good young guys that I'm really excited about. So I would probably lean Pistons.
All right. This or that, the New York Knicks or the Indiana Pacers? Tunde.
I mean, both teams are filled with people who what is the term that was used earlier? They don't move the needle. So
Who has a better upside?
I think I mean theoretically the Knicks have a better upside. And I'll say the Knicks have a better upside because they are located in New York instead of Indiana. So theoretically, they're more likely to attract free agents. Has that been a winning strategy or one that's worked for them or really attracted high-level free agents over the last 25 years? No, but I guess the potential for that is there. So,
okay. This or that, Chaz, the New York Knicks or the Indiana Pacers?
I'll go with the Knicks too. But I will say that I think Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin is arguably the best, young backcourt in the league. So I think those guys are really going to be something if they can stay together.
All right. Final stretch here, guys. The Atlanta Hawks or the Washington Wizards? This or that?
I'm gonna zig where others might zag and say the Wizards here.
Okay.
The Wizards are going to be
that's tougher than what people think. I think that those two teams, as far as the upside.
Sure. I mean, I think that within the next year or two, Bradley Beal will no longer play for the Washington Wizards. And whenever that happens, the bottom falls out on that team. Whenever that happens, the bottom falls out on that team. Who knows? We might be looking at this a year from now and Victor Wembanyama is on that team and then everything looks real different. So
this or that. I'm sorry.
And just to throw this in there, the Atlanta Hawks are currently in NBA purgatory, which is a difficult place to be as far as upside goes. So
this or that, Chaz, the Atlanta Hawks or the Washington Wizards?
Yeah, I would lean the Atlanta Hawks. I think they have a little bit more promising of a roster. But I feel like both of those teams are kind of in the same ballpark. They're a lot of years, they're right in the middle of the league. Every few years, maybe one of the two will kind of surprise people and make a run in the playoffs. But they're in the same division. They're usually in the middle of that division. I think that's probably where they're going to stay for the foreseeable future, but I'll probably lean Hawks a little bit.
All right. Final one of the game, Magic Hornets, this or that?
Magic.
I
like that Magic team a lot of length. They've had Franz Wagner starting at the 1 pretty much all year. He's been really great. Paolo Banchero looks like a bona fide superstar in my opinion. I'm not calling him a superstar yet, Danny, but I do think someday Paolo Banchero will be one. And not to mention other guys like Wendell Carter. Bol has been fantastic. I think a lot of guys on that roster are pretty good, and even though their record doesn't necessarily show that they're have a lot of potential, I feel like they will be pretty good in the next couple of years.
Out of those teams, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Heat, Hawks, Bulls, Raptors, Wizards, Magic, Pistons, Hornets, obviously a lot of those teams, are not in playoff contention. But which one of those teams, if you are the Celtics, Nets, Bucks, are you trying to avoid at all costs?
None of them.
7-game series.
None of them.
None of them. None of them strikes any fear.
No, not even a little.
Okay.
I think if you're at one of those top 3 seasons,
not even a Heat.
No, none of them.
Okay.
I think if you're one of those top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference, the only teams that you're a little bit worried about are each other, and then the Cavs and the Sixers.
Okay. And do we think that is this, from what we know right now, is this the correct order? Obviously it changes, but right now, would you say that these top 5 are in order of who is the best team and who's the 5th team in the East? Or will we change that a little bit? Not taking records aside, based on
Yeah.
seeing these teams fully healthy, thinking that they're going to be fully healthy, would this be the ranking that you put them in?
I don't know. I might have Philly ahead of Cleveland. I kind of go back and forth on that, depending on how they play, depending on, how Tyrese Maxey's looking, how some of the, bench players look. But I mean, I feel like all five of those teams are really good. And honestly, I think any of them could get to the conference finals.
Yeah. And Tunde, I know you like the Nets a lot. So healthy, is the Nets your team to beat in the East?
Currently, yes, that kind of changes as the season goes on and as we get more information and see teams work on things or, weaknesses come up. But yes, currently the Nets are my team to beat in the East. So I'd have it Nets 1, Celtics 2, Bucks 3. And I'll cop out and say the Sixers and the Cavs are kind of tied for 4th. I think that
Got to pick one.
I mean, if you're making me put one above the other, I guess I'll put the Cavs above the Sixers. And I'll feel very bad about it. But the difference is that I think, you get stops from you get rim protection from the Cavs in at a really high level in the playoffs. We've seen that most of the teams that have won championships over the last 5 years, like looking at teams like the 19 Raptors, 2020 Lakers, the 2021 Bucks. That's what they did at a high level, is protect the rim, and kind of work from there, funnel everything into guys like Brook Lopez and Marc Gasol. And then Joel Embiid, as much as I love him as a basketball player, hasn't really shown the ability to healthily finish an NBA season ever. And that has kind of affected the performance you've seen from him in the playoffs. And I refuse to be hot takey, but I think most people would agree that James Harden has not played his best basketball in the playoffs over the course of his career. So
that's not a hot take at all. That's okay. Yeah, it's not a hot take at all. All right, guys. Final question is one word answer. One player answer, really. Right now, we're early. I mean, we're not really early in the season, but we're getting towards that midway point. Right now, Chaz, who is the league MVP? If you were to place the bet right now, who's the league MVP?
Man, that's a tough question. I would probably go with, I think it would be Jokic at this point.
Jokic for the three-peat? Okay.
I don't think he's going to win it, but I think if it was today, if the season ended today, I think it would be Jokic.
Okay. Tunde?
Well, if it ended today, and it doesn't, but if it ended today, Kevin Durant.
Okay. I'm going to say Giannis. I'm going to say Giannis wins his third in the last 5 years, something like that, 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Giannis. So I have Giannis. You have Jokic, which is my second pick, actually. Luka's third for me, and then I have Kevin Durant fourth, and then you have Kevin Durant at number 1. Tunde. Awesome list. Awesome.
The MVP race is loaded right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that we're not even mentioning Embiid and Tatum is crazy.
And I think Ja even he's at the lower end, but I think he even has a chance to ascend into that top 5.
Yeah, with the Grizzlies being tied for first place now, I mean, you start to get in that argument.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tunde, is there anything else you would like to say?
Nothing that won't start an argument, so no.
Chaz, anything you'd like to say?
No, all good.
All right, guys, that will do it for us. We are just getting started, this season. Tune in every week for new content, new episodes, new arguments. We like to do this shit. So thank you guys for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter at DannyMurphyJr1.
You can follow me on Twitter at Chaz_post23.
I'd prefer you don't follow me on Twitter, but if you do, at KingTunde25.
What happened? You was having people follow you on Twitter last year.
Twitter is a toxic place. That shit is for the birds.
It's a different place than it was a year ago.
It definitely is. It definitely is. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Peace.